The content presented is for entertainment purposes only. Some content may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. So there's been a lot of border issues going on in the news.
Border issues? You mean
Border
like
issues.
Are we talking about the United States border, or are we talking about like the border on my plate separating the guac and the salsa?
Or what about the border around your picture frame?
What about Border Patrol? What about the
Yes. And yes.
What about borders as
And
in
yes.
I like to
No.
snowboard. What about us borders?
What about boarding? What about dogs boarding?
Like boarding dogs? I was about to say boarding school, and then I was like, that doesn't make sense. Well, I guess it does now. But boarding puppies.
Yeah, I guess that
boarding
wasn't
pups, boarding pound.
that wasn't the most exciting examples, but
I tried my best. I
You
tried
did.
I tried
You
to be
did
sarcastic.
very well, sir.
Thanks.
you did very well, sir.
Sometimes my best isn't enough, but somebody out there will think it's okay.
Yeah. All right, guys. So the articles that we're quoting from and everything, and the statistics that we're given, we're commenting on these articles, and they are actually linked in the description below, even on the live video. Actually found the place where we can actually do that, which is kind of cool. So exciting stuff. So apparently 1.7 million migrants illegally crossed the U.S. border.
Boulder.
The U.S. Boulder. Not Boulder, Colorado. The U.S. Boulder.
Okay.
Apparently there's a big rock that separates. Never mind. So in this past year, in the highest number since recorded.
1.7 million.
Yes.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of people migrating.
So, Jacob, tell us, how are these migrants said crossing into the borders illegally?
Well, what's really interesting is actually they're mostly crossing from our southern border with our neighbors
Right.
over from Mexico, but it's not just people from Mexico. There's actually probably around 150, 160 countries of different people that are getting themselves to Mexico so that they can migrate north up through the Mexican border into the United States. And so that's happening a lot in Texas, lower parts of California, Arizona, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, which is that's a pretty big number too. I mean, it's crazy because like I remember a few years back when Donald Trump started talking about putting up a wall for between the United States and Mexico. I think initially everybody was like, "Are you out of your mind?" Because I think initially it's very easy to go back to like a wall. Like walls haven't done us any good. Like I think everybody's kind of thinking of like the Berlin Wall.
Right.
And like how, just I think
Or like
it
the
has
wall
such
separating North and South Korea.
Right. So you have like a lot of negative connotations with a wall.
Right.
But when you look at these numbers and you look at all the statistics and how, like what's taking place due to this, it's also kind of like, were you onto something here when you had this idea? Like, so.
And the engineering of the wall is actually pretty good. I mean, now nothing's going to be perfect. Obviously, people are going to find a way to get over it, through it, under it. Like people are going to figure it
tunnels.
out. Dude, there's a lot of, seriously, a lot of tunnels, especially like on the where do they call it? The southern part of California. They call it Calexico or whatever.
I don't really know. I never
I know
really.
there's a lot.
Growing up in California, I probably should have paid more attention to it, especially living in Temecula, where it's like, we're only like an hour and a half-ish away from Tijuana. So
yeah,
and
it's really easy to cross in a lot of places too. And true. I'm sure it hasn't helped this year that once like Joe Biden got into presidency, sorry to get a little bit political, but he all but basically invited everybody to come to the United States.
Yeah. I don't remember seeing. Honestly, I don't pay a lot of attention to what he does. I just hear that like everything that he does is stupid. Which I mean, like, granted, I live in Utah, so of course that's what I'm going to be hearing. So.
Yeah, we'll hear a lot of the right living in Utah. It's more of a red state than it is a blue.
Right.
For sure.
I think. I don't know. I do know that a lot of people voted for Biden, but I also know that a lot of people voted for Biden because they didn't want to vote for Trump.
Yeah, and granted, like, Trump's not my favorite person, and his personality and the way that he talks and treats people is not my favorite. He's kind of a hooligan in a lot of ways.
If there was one thing I could say to that man, it would be, stop tweeting.
Well, he was banned from Twitter. Like, he
Really?
Yeah, I thought he was.
I don't know. Let me look.
Did he let him back on?
I don't know. Let me look.
I could have sworn
I never knew
banned.
that he was. I never knew that he was banned.
He was banned for a while.
Dude tweets way too much.
Well, and also, like, he was tweeting stuff about the country, which I think that's not really the most appropriate place to share that kind of shit. But
I type in Donald Trump on Twitter, and the first thing that comes up is President Biden. POTUS.
Oh, that's not. I don't know. That's not steering people at all.
And maybe he did get banned from Twitter because I'm looking up Donald Trump, and it's just
he did.
Yeah, it looks like it. Not finding his profile.
The left did not like it.
Donald,
and since most of the left-leaning people in the big tech companies are Democrat, there's a lot of shenanigans going on in the social media world, like in silencing people. But let's be honest, But however, I don't like him like as a person very much. However, he did a lot of great things for the country. Like he really gave the military the ability to do their jobs.
Yeah.
Like untying their hands and give them the things that they need to protect themselves and to do what they need to do.
I will say, like the whole thing that went down with the military out in where were they located?
Are you talking about the recent?
This is very recent.
You're talking about in Afghanistan.
Yes,
we left haphazardly.
Mm-hmm. Trump wouldn't have done that. Like, that was an interesting call to make. I was like, why aren't you okay? Whatever.
Well, there's a lot of discussion going on.
I shouldn't say whatever. It's not. It's definitely not whatever. But
yeah, I mean, did you see the video where people were holding on to the plane's landing gear?
No, I didn't.
Until it took off.
I didn't pay a lot of attention to it.
Of course, because the plane's going so fast, they had, eventually were blown off and they fell to their deaths, unfortunately. Wow. Yeah, I think there was like 7 or 8 people that died just from that incident. I could be wrong. But I know people did die during that thing.
Like the ripples that the decisions of a president makes. Did that sentence make any sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the ripples of the decisions made by presidents is mind-blowing. Stuff like that. It's like you're choosing not to bring home these soldiers or rescue them. You're choosing not to do that, and the result is, how many did you say?
That died?
Yeah.
I think there was like 7 or 8 people that died.
Okay, so 7 or 8
during that attempt to bring people out of Afghanistan.
Okay, so
pull out.
7 or 8 people die as a result of this decision. Like, that shit's just mind-blowing to me and just boggling. I don't know.
Well, the thing that's been going on recently is that they're actually questioning like all the generals and stuff that were involved with preparing for it and actually getting taken care of. Apparently, these generals advised President Biden to leave about 2,500 soldiers there, like the military, so that they can protect things while they get the people out at least.
Okay.
And then that didn't happen. So basically what happened is the Taliban came in and overran the country and basically brought it back to a dictatorship like it was in a matter of 2 weeks.
Jeez.
So it's no longer a democratic society.
Mind blowing.
And this is a war that's been raging since
The 90s.
Yeah, it was like 80s or 90s when like we first went in, because this is like kind of the leftover stuff from the Cold War.
Mm-hmm.
They're having issues with Russia was raiding Afghanistan.
Huh.
And so what happened is the United States stepped in. They gave them the military forces that they need and the weapons and stuff they needed to basically push out like all the Russian insurgents and stuff out of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened is after that happened and they pulled out, right? Obviously we're like, okay, we're done. And then, basically happened all over again and their country was, ravaged and
torn apart.
So, yeah.
Damn.
So the United States, unfortunately, has not had a very good history with playing well with Afghanistan, unfortunately. And it sucked that it's taken this long for us to get out. And there wasn't I'm sure there was some attempt to keep things in place, like as far as like their military and as far as like their democracy and stuff like that. But after 2 weeks, the Taliban taking over everything and basically making it back to a dictatorship like it was before is just mind blowing.
2 weeks is pretty short for all of that to take place. Like that's a process, and you accomplish that in 2 weeks. Okay.
Yeah, that's nuts. But going back to our topic.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's what we're talking about.
Immigration and stuff like that. But there was 147,000 of that 1.7 million that migrated to the United States that were they were unaccompanied minors.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's what I was reading. Unaccompanied minors. So these are like kids.
So these are like children.
Yeah. Kids coming over from, wow. Wonder how they're doing it. Probably the tunnels.
Probably, or they're just making that trek through the desert.
Yeah, maybe.
To get around stuff.
Probably.
And to get through.
So,
and out of that 1.7 million, only 27% of them were actually stopped and detained.
27%?
Yes.
So that's like
according to this article anyways.
So a little over a quarter of people, barely,
are actually being stopped. And the next question is okay, are they at least being like, they're at least getting a name, birth date, like are they putting them in some kind of system?
Yeah, what's the process?
What's the process with all that? Yeah.
I don't know. Well, do you know what the process is? Because I
actually don't. I actually did not research that.
Okay.
There's a lot of facets with this particular topic, and that's one that I did not look up.
There's, what's it called? There's a term for it, and I forget what it's called. Like crime that's not reported, but in this case, it's
crime that's not reported.
In this case, it's migration that's not reported. So like we have the statistics here, right? This is people that we have counted that have come over.
Yeah.
There's also like,
this is it's an estimation,
right? There's also like a general percentage of people that aren't like either being reported or like the give or take aspect of it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Those that are not being reported or being caught or counted, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm trying to say here,
but they don't. But basically, what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to detain them until they can transport them and deport them back to their country.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's also another burden on the taxpayer, unfortunately.
Sadly, yeah.
Among other things that we don't want to pay for.
Yeah, the things that our tax dollars are going for. Jeez.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty crazy.
And here I was thinking, wow, our tax dollars are just going to work for tsunami evacuation signs. Just an arrow pointing away from the ocean.
Yeah.
That's your tax dollars going to work.
Yeah. So I have a quote here.
Okay.
So it says, according to the New York Times, a surge in migrants could be due to COVID-19 pandemic, as people from around the world sought out economic opportunities after facing job losses. The U.S. land borders between Mexico and Canada have been closed for non-essential travel for 19 months due to the pandemic. However, the U.S. plans to reopen the borders for fully vaccinated travelers next month. When this was, this article was done. And that's from Sinead Baker.
Who's Sinead Baker?
It's one of the, I believe it's one of the writers of the of the article.
Gotcha.
So I have some thoughts on this.
Okay, go on.
I think it's outrageous to see those numbers. Like, barely over a quarter of these migrants illegally crossing, the borders are being detained and, deported back to their countries, obviously. And I believe there was a press conference where Biden was just like, yeah, of course we love immigrants, but he basically all but like said, yeah, come on over, basically. We'll take care of you. I'd have to look it up again. I can't remember exactly what he said, so I probably shouldn't use it. But then what was interesting is, like, months later, they had Kamala Harris do a press conference. And what's interesting is how, while she was on her campaign trail, her process and thoughts on immigration were very different to when, she became the vice president.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, like, there was this whole press conference that happened months ago where she basically said that if you want to come to our country, don't come. Which is really interesting.
Okay.
I really wish I had a link to that, or at least had a quote from what Biden said. I'd have to Google it. So
I wonder what changed then. Like, what happened?
Well,
where's the change in this whole thing?
The thing is that I feel like if you're running for office, you're gonna do and say whatever you absolutely can to get in.
Yeah.
And then once you're in, especially if you're on the team, and they're pushing these ideologies and these thoughts, processes, and stuff like that.
Once you get in, you can still say and do whatever you want, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
to an extent.
Let's be honest, that pretty much happens almost every person that runs for the presidency.
Yeah.
They say one thing, then once they get there, they go, oh, well, yeah, we're not going to do that anymore because now I have more information, or I changed my mind, or whatever the case may be. Let me see if I can Google this real fast.
Yeah. We'll say it is interesting how, like, Trump did stick to his word for the most part.
That's
like, I will start construction on a wall. He did that.
He definitely enabled a lot of help for impoverished communities. He did a lot for our economics. Like, we had one of the lowest economic, like joblessness was so small while he was president, because he's a businessman. Like, he understands business.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Biden invites tidal wave of illegals into the U.S.
I will say, like, I'm all about like people moving in to the U.S.
Oh, because he's proposing amnesty for the 11, 12 million illegal aliens that are still in our country. Okay. And there's some correlation that might have not only the possibility of the pandemic, but that because Biden announced that it caused the surge as well. There's some belief in that. I don't know one way or the other, but I could see a correlation.
I will say, like, I understand and I am all about people coming into America. However, do it the right way. Go through the process. Like, I don't really want my tax dollars to pay for you getting caught for not doing it right to send you back to where you came from.
Yeah.
Like, that sucks for me. That sucks for you. Let's do it the right way so we're both in, like, taking care of it properly. Like, come on now. Well,
and there's a lot of issues that happens because if we have, and I get it. Like, I understand, like, why people are doing it.
Yeah.
Because this is a land of opportunity. It's a land of the, home of the free, land of the brave. Like,
and I can also get like a lot of families back down, like wherever they are, if they're wanting like a fresh start in life, if they're like running from something or someone, whatever. Okay, understandable. It's a case by case thing. I'm still standing by my point. Do it the right way. Like,
absolutely.
If you're gonna move here, do it the right way.
Absolutely.
So.
What's interesting is how it also affects the economic balance of our country, where someone who's moved into our country illegally is more likely to accept a lower paying job than somebody who's in our country legally. And a lot of times, this is, I have met a lot of illegals. I've worked alongside with a lot of illegals. Just kind of from the different jobs and stuff I've worked in. And what a lot of times what'll happen is they'll put like 2 or 3 families like into one like small home. So number 1, they could easily afford it. Number 2, they can combine all their income. Then number 3, they can send some money back, to wherever they're originally from.
Right.
And a lot of them do that. And so that from an employer standpoint, that will seem really exciting because I can hire a bunch of people that are willing to take the lowest wage I can give them, minimum wage. And that'll cut a lot of my cost. That's very attractive for a business owner. And so if there's people that are willing to accept those wages, then that employer will expect other people to also take those wages.
Right. And
let's be honest, minimum wage in any of our states is not it's not necessarily a living wage.
It's not great.
And that's another podcast for another day.
Man.
Because I have some very close feelings to that people should be able to have a living wage. Okay, well, what is a living wage? Well, for me, if I was a single person going to school and working full time, I feel like you should be able to make enough to pay your rent, to have a mechanically sound vehicle to get you around where you need to go, back and forth to work, back and forth to school, make enough to pay for tuition, food, gas, water, internet, all the things that you'll need, your essentials, and then you should have I would probably say somewhere between like 30 and 40% more than that. That way you can save money and spend a little bit as well, because you should be able to enjoy life a little bit while you're working hard and going to school.
Yeah, this isn't happening for me.
No, it's not.
Nope.
Why?
No.
Why is it not happening for you?
Oh, you tell me. I have no idea.
It's okay. It gets worse when you get older and you have more expensive things to pay for.
You can't tell me that.
So that's the reality, my brother.
I know, but you can't tell me that. Because I know for a fact that if I'm making what I'm making now and I'm still it's not happening. There's no way. There's no way.
Well, let me tell you this. My wife and I both work full time. We make about the same amount, and we're paying the bills. Not putting much away. So that tells you something. Of course, small town America, wages are going to be lower. Yada yada yada.
Yeah, I mean,
But anyway,
don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I really do like this town, but I wish there were. I just wish we were paid more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, it really depends on the person, because obviously if you're single, going to school, working full time, your needs are going to be different than a family, 3 kids, and their live-in grandmother. They're going to be very different.
And I do oh my goodness. I don't know. I am single and I'm able to make everything work, but at the same time it's where's the money for all the stuff I want?
Yeah. Well, and that's where I have that that kind of 30 or 40% above your needs, because I feel like you should still be able to do stuff that you want to do. And you can either do really big expensive things by saving up over time, or you can like get smaller things, like more immediate things, at the immediate.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just wish I had enough money to like pay all of my bills and then enjoy life.
Hear that, people? Share our podcast.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Please subscribe so I can make money off of this too.
And that's the thing, is that, when we're looking at this whole podcast thing, or if like you're starting a business or writing a book, or or whatever the case may be, starting a career, in a new job or whatever, like there's risk involved in everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's much harder to risk as you get older. So I'll be honest with you, I'm taking a big risk starting a podcast, writing a book. I'm taking a lot of risks, and I'm putting a lot of effort and timing into it. And it might not pay off. It might not pay off 2, 3 years, 5 years from now. I don't know. But I feel like if you don't take the risk and you don't really work hard towards it and try and see how it pans out, and that the biggest thing is perseverance.
Right.
Like I feel like over time, it'll get to where you want it. Obviously not in the immediate.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Yikes.
And that's just how it works. Like,
right.
And you're always going to have those outliers of people that just like, get really lucky with the people that they associate with. They get really lucky with creating, like, let's say they create a device or some kind of product that they patent, and now they own that patent, and it's a real big hit. Some of those people are multimillionaires, like, in less than 2 or 3 years. But it seems like the sweet spot for things to start breaking even, or get to the point where you're able to lean on that as an income, it seems like 3 to 5 years is like that sweet spot.
Yeah. Right.
That's why I'm not worried.
You got the time.
All we got is time.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, for now.
Oh man,
I'm turning 40 next year.
I saw this.
But
I saw this comic strip, or not this comic strip. What am I saying? This comedian. He was like, "Oh yeah, so I watched the debates. It was my first season watching the debates, and
first season.
I had never watched the debates before,
but he first season.
No, but he went on. Man, I forget this guy's name.
Can't wait for season 2 to come out.
No, I forget this guy's name, but he was saying like he felt bad for the mediator just because like the debaters would always like just go over their time. The mediator was like, your time is up, and he went on to say like the guy said it so much that I started to think that he was talking to us. Like that's a hidden message.
Wait,
there.
Is this a drinking game? Where's my shot?
This is a message for everybody. Hey, your time is up. Run for the hills.
Those debates were sure garbage fire. Did you watch any of them? Oh my God, they're so bad. The funniest ones was Trump versus Hillary. Oh my God,
wrong.
That's because you're a liar.
Wrong.
You're wrong. You should be in jail.
Yeah. I remember Joe Biden and Donald Trump's debates. Like I just remember, like TikTok and Instagram was blowing up with like clips of them being absolutely ridiculous. Like I don't know, like I remember there was one where they were talking about like, oh yeah, like Donald Trump, you're holding a lot of these really big events outside for like the COVID pandemic and everything, and then he was like, Joe Biden, you're holding much smaller events, and then Donald Trump chimes in and he's like, yeah, because nobody would show up. So it's like, why do you have to throw that in
presidential troll I've ever seen in my entire life?
That's
like
hilarious.
I don't think he's a great human being, but as a president and as a president that's good at trolling, like I don't understand why. Like I understand why SNL had such fun with that. And I can understand where comics had a lot of fun with that. And it was like, as soon as Biden got into office, it was like, okay, guys, can't make fun of presidents anymore. No more SNL skits. No more comedians like going off on it. Oh my goodness, dude. It's highly sus.
Oh my goodness.
Did you know my brother's wife, like, she has dual citizenship now? Citizenship? Citizenship.
Whoa, what?
Rather.
Citizenship?
Yeah.
Cool.
So I didn't ask them how long it took them, but according to one of the articles that's linked in our description below, stated that as long as you hit all of your appointments and you do all of your applications on time, they said that it shouldn't take longer than 1.5 years to become a citizen.
Yeah.
So let's say you miss a couple appointments, yada, yada, yada. I think maximum is probably 2 years, which really isn't a long time.
No, not at all. 2 years is actually like, I've lived here for a little over 2 years. So, I mean.
Oh, really? Where were you born? Were you born in Canada or? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm
2
like
years living here in
Utah.
in Utah. Yeah.
I'm like comparing it to like, it's really not that bad.
Copy that. I got you now. Okay. I was just like, I was a little confused, but thank you for clarifying.
It's weird though. Like, years tend to move by very slowly when you're growing up, and then like you hit your 20s, and it's like, wow, I've really been here for like a little over 2 years. Holy shit! Like,
wait until you're 30. You're just like, wait, I'm turning 40.
I know, and it's making me nervous too, because like 24, I'm in my early mid 20s, and I'm at that point where I'm like, I think I have a major, and I think I know what I want to do. I think.
What's the average college student changing their, what is it, 3 to 5 times?
I feel like it's more than that. Like, if I change my major, this will be my, if I change my major, this will be my second time. This will only be my second time.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's Google, how often do college students...
When I was in high school, the
change their
average was
major?
3, I believe. This was in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay, so at least 80% of college students change their majors at least once.
Okay.
So that's, let's see. Is there
Let's get to the
more?
outliers.
I know. I kind of
Those crazy people that have minors in like 4 or 5 different things.
This is an estimate. It's not like give or take.
Yeah. It's your best guesstimation.
Okay. If it were to be my guess, are you taking a picture or a video of me? I can't tell.
No, I'm looking at my notes. I'm sorry.
It looked like you were, just because of where your phone.
I just want to see your beautiful face.
Thanks, man.
And want to have it forever close to my heart.
Thanks, dude. I would say that the average, I think you might be right, 3 to 5 times. I think college students would change their majors about 3 to 5 times.
Yeah.
Like for me, like when I started going to school, like I thought I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to go into like teaching English to high schoolers.
Yeah.
And then I got into the education field and realized how complicated administration is, and how like curriculum has changed now so much to the point where teachers aren't really teaching anymore. They're giving lectures and having computers teach children. Like the curriculum is this online program that you have to go through. And I'm like, no, I disagree with that. And I cannot support, like that is not something that I can support and get behind. I can't do it.
Wow. It feels like they're making it really more difficult for people to learn.
I mean, well, not only that, but it's like with that, a lot of teenagers are not learning the social skills that they need to survive in today's world.
I agree.
Because a lot of like the, like everything, we're given convenience. Everything is given convenience, and the online study is one of them. But with that convenience, you take away skills that you can learn from the impatience. Or does that make sense? I don't know. But like when you're given convenience, you're less likely to learn skills that come with the longer task, right?
Okay.
So therefore, a lot of our high school students and just students in general are just not learning the social skills they need to survive in this current world.
Yeah.
Which sucks because one of these days, someone that is part of Generation Z will be our president. So, like,
and that's kind of scary right now.
Which I'm like,
although
I look at everybody
what we've
that's
had so
up,
far is still kind of in question if we have what we need as a country. So who knows? Maybe there would be somebody that's very intelligent and very smart and who's very reasonable that will actually. So. Yeah, but there's people out there, but unfortunately, they're not going to push those people to be front runners unless they're on the team and unless they're like really going to follow their ideologies. It's going to be very difficult for reasonable people, I should say, to be front runners. I'll be honest. At least that's my opinion. But I liked how you talked about education. My question is, do you feel like the things that you're learning in college right now are going to be applicable for you in the future?
I hope so. There are different aspects of my college classes that I've taken that I'm like, wow, this is really helpful. I think one of them, I'm really glad that I did go through the phase of like, I do want to be a psychology major. I did go through like that. I am really glad that I went through that phase just because there's a lot in my classes where I'm like, wow, I didn't really think about that. Like specific ways that your brain works and sensation and perception of life. Social psychology, a lot of things that you learn like in communications, a lot of it is condensed into social psychology where you can like, it's the human interaction part of it.
Yeah.
That much is really helpful. I think like, I don't know, because I think about it now and I know, take the FBI, for example. They hire, like you would think that they hire criminal justice majors with psychology minors, right? But they actually don't do that. What they want is they just want any degree and they want you to have a specific skill. So that way they can like use that to their advantage. They want your rare, unique skills.
Gotcha.
So.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense.
So it's like you can get a degree in whatever you want. It doesn't matter where you apply. They just want that piece of paper that says you went to school for 4 years, which is one of those things at this point I'm like, I guess it doesn't matter what I get my degree in. But like,
honestly, that's true. Like, I mean, I've known many people who have their degrees, their 3-year degree, their masters, all those fun, attachments to, I have the piece of paper that says I'm smart, and they don't even utilize that.
Right.
In their current life.
Right. I know a guy that's
a lot of people like that.
Yeah, I know a guy that's he was a music major when he was in college, and guess what he's doing now?
I don't know.
He sells cars.
He sells cars.
Like, yeah, the guy sells cars for his job. Like, I'm like,
that's interesting.
Okay, whatever.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Coming back to immigration. Because, on this podcast, we always want to try to be better people. We also want to try to kind of come up with some different ideas or maybe just, concur with current ideas of how to make things seemingly better. I think it's a disservice to our country that the Biden administration didn't complete the wall that President Trump put into place. Because even though a wall isn't perfect, it at least would help aid in some people not immigrating into our country as easily as a physical barrier. However, the matter of it taking about a year and a half for people to receive citizenship, I feel like that could be streamlined and done better. And I feel like we can bring that down to 1 year. I feel like a full year is more than enough time to do FBI background checks, interviews, like the whole 9 yards, application, like all the stuff that you need to get to become a citizen. I feel like that can be done in a year. I think a year and a half is, it's not too long, but I feel like it could be done better.
I kind of feel like a year and a half is more like, well, let's just to confirm to be sure. Cause I feel like you're right. A year probably is good enough.
Yeah.
But I feel like a year, like they're putting on a little extra cushion. That's just like, okay, well, let's really make sure. I don't know, but
Okay.
I think I would agree. I think a year is like,
I think it's more than enough.
yeah,
Maybe even 9 months. I mean that might be pushing it, but
I think I'd stick to a year.
I feel a year.
A year is appropriate.
Yeah.
I feel like, but
I agree. What about the illegal immigrants that end up being criminals? Now, I'm not saying, hashtag not all, but what about the ones that do come into our country and continue to do crime?
well, okay. So here's my question: are we talking about like were they criminals before? Like, do they have a history in their own country where they were criminals, or did they move here and then they became like they saw that industry and they were like, that's what I want to do?
No, that's a very good question. If you guys haven't already, we would love for you to leave us a comment about this subject, about your thoughts on immigration and about criminals. But I'd probably say, a lot of times those that come into our country and end up doing crime were probably doing crime in their country before they came over.
Rianne says maybe 2, but I think she's referring to her comment of like
Maybe 2.
maybe 2 as in maybe 2 years for immigration.
Oh, is she listening?
Yeah, I think so.
Hi,
Her comment
hi, my
came
love. Oh, that's cool.
So I don't know. That's a good question, because my thought is like we have crime here.
Mm-hmm.
It develops here and it boils here on its own.
Excuse me.
Like crime's gonna exist no matter what. Like,
yeah, there's not going to be a utopian perfect society. There's always going to be some sort of crime.
If it wasn't the illegal immigrant that came in and started doing it, it might have been John from down the street. I don't know.
Right.
Like, it's always going to be there. Like we could get rid of all the immigrants and be like, but if we granted this country is built on immigration, so I mean,
yeah, that's something that's really interesting too. Is
like,
our country was built on immigrants.
Yeah,
because our forefathers were from the United Kingdom.
Yeah, exactly.
Under the crown.
Uh-huh.
We're all immigrants here, boys. Anyways.
Yeah. No, but
sorry, I'll let you finish your thought.
My thought.
Your thought. I can't English.
I'll let you finish your fart. No, but my whole point is like there's gonna be crime no matter what. Like if it's not the immigrants, it's those of us that lived here. It's gonna be there either way. Like, and if they get caught and they're here illegally, well, guess where you're going. So, I mean,
well, here's been the problem. This has kind of been the cycle with a lot of the illegal immigrations, or the illegals that come into our country and do crime. Is usually what happens is the crime is committed, they're incarcerated, a judge deports them, and they're sent back to their country. So they don't have a trial, they don't have, like, they're not what's the phrase I'm looking for? Well, they're not receiving the punishment for the crime.
Well, think about like a trial.
They're just being sent back to their country.
A trial is given to
hashtag not all.
Right. Trial is given to those that are U.S. citizens. If they're not U.S. citizens, then you don't qualify, I guess. So.
Okay, that makes sense. But do you think there's a degree of crime where they should stay in our country and they should be sentenced and served some kind of punishment?
Makes sense. You commit the crime on U.S. soil, therefore you stay in prison on U.S. soil. I think it would be the same for us. Like if we were to go to a different country and commit something, like we would get put in a freaking Panamanian jail. I don't know.
Here's the problem. They're not put back in jail when they go back to their country. And what the thing that they're seeing now is that there's a small percentage, I'm not sure on the percentage, but there's a small amount of people that commit crime, the judge deports them, right? They go back to their country, and they come back to the country, and they do more crime. And sometimes it's even more severe.
Well, when you put it that way, that's, like I said, no trial, you don't qualify, go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
You commit the crime on U.S. soil, you go to jail on U.S. soil. I don't know. I'm not the one that makes the decisions here. You tell me, educate me on whatever I don't know. So.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. Like, I think with America, if you do a crime in another country, more than likely you're going to come back to America. You're still going to be in jail, and you're going to be prosecuted for that crime. However, there's other countries that don't see it that way.
Well,
so there's some examples, and the link should be in the video below. So there's an example of someone who came to the country illegally, was arrested for his role in alleged rape of a family member. This is a 17-year-old boy perpetrated on an 11-year-old cousin. Deported, came back again, violated that cousin again, and had his baby.
Wow.
In a tub, 9 months later.
Yikes.
And this isn't the only, this is like an extreme, very extreme case. Excuse me. So, I mean, again, hashtag not all. I know, like, not all illegal immigrants are criminals. But here's the statistics that we're seeing from Texas. This is between June 1st, 2011 and December 31st, 2019. Approximately 211,000 illegal aliens were arrested for crimes within the state, not even related to illegal entry. These arrests include charges like, big list here, 606 homicide charges, 37,000 assault charges, 6,000 burglary charges, 40,000 drug charges, 500 kidnapping charges, 17,000 theft charges, 26,000 obstructing police charges, almost 2,000 robbery charges, 4,000 sexual assault charges, 5,000 sexual offense charges, 3,000 weapons charges. So, and this is just from the state of Texas. That's not including other states that are along the border, like California, Arizona.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty mind-blowing and pretty eye-opening, I guess, when you read it all out loud like that. Like, it definitely does make you wonder, like, when are we going to start making the decisions here? Like,
well, when we have 1.7 million illegal immigrants coming to our country from across 150 different countries, there's clearly an issue.
Right.
Not only with illegal immigration, which is illegal, but also there are some criminals that are being brought in those groups. Now, I'm very grateful that I don't have to decide what to do in these things. However, what are some of your thoughts on how maybe some things can change or be different?
How things can change and be different?
Yeah. To change or be different.
We got some comments here.
Oh, wonderful.
Rihanna, I can't recall back to our comment on what we were saying before, but she just said no because it's our tax dollars paying for it. I don't remember.
Yeah, that's true. Our tax dollars are keeping these people incarcerated, and then when they're being deported, the tax dollars are being paid for them to be flown back.
Gotcha. Thank you for that insight. We have another comment from. I'm having a hard time reading your last name. I'm just gonna say Rena. I hope I'm saying it right.
Oh, hi Rena. Welcome to the show.
I am a registered Democrat from New York. How about we take care of our American vets first? If you cannot take care of your own children, keep your legs crossed until such time that you can. Good thought.
That is a very interesting thought.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times, like when it comes to families and stuff like that, I really do believe that people should, that are together should decide how their family should unfold.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it all starts with choice. Like, and I know people are going to hear this and they'll be like, no, you can't use this because it's not, people aren't able to do that. But abstinence is still a choice. There's a lot of people that say, well, that's not good enough. Abstinence isn't good enough. And it's like, well, you could choose not to have unprotected sex,
Yeah.
and make a baby. I mean, there's other choices out there. You could just not have sex. Of course, there's a lot of things you could do. That's fun. But if you do decide that's not going to work for me, I really would like to have that, that intimacy with the other person,
Mm-hmm.
assuming, of age, consenting adults, to make the choice of, there are prophylactics, condoms and diaphragms. And there's also different medications they can take, birth control. And if I remember correctly, there was actually an article.
Vasectomy.
Well, that vasectomy as well. And a lot of times those are now reversible as well. So it can be a temporary thing and you can actually get it undone and you can, do the natural thing for making babies again. Or you could freeze sperm and eggs. That's another choice. So, I mean, there's all these other choices, and I think it's really interesting to hear the right and the left. And it's just like, oh, it's pro-choice. And it's like, you get to choose if you can have an abortion or not. And on the other side, it's, it's pro-life. It's, it's a baby. Well, it all lies somewhere in the middle, it seems. But yes, yeah, that was a very interesting comment. Thank you for that comment, Rena. So we're pretty close to out of time here. I really do, for the immigration stuff, we do need to streamline people coming into our country legally. I mean, I do feel like a year is more than enough to figure out if somebody is nefarious or not. And if they've, they can show that they're wanting to be a member of our country and do what they're supposed to do and all that good stuff. I really do believe we need to finish our walls. I think a barrier is really important. And I really do believe that we need to, treat people with as much respect as we can, obviously. Mm-hmm. Because we don't know if they're criminals. We don't know if they're fleeing, from abuse, sexual or physical. We don't know what's going on in their lives that's, giving them the insight to, make the treacherous journey,
mm-hmm.
From across, for wherever they're coming from. What are some of your closing thoughts?
At the end of the day, like, I really just think that it just needs to be done the right way. Like I said earlier, I really don't want my tax dollars paying for something that isn't finished. I also don't want them paying for
excuse me,
immigrants that come over illegally and then get caught and then sent back over so they can come back and do it again. I don't want my tax dollars paying for that.
Yeah. I'd love the military to be involved with that.
Yeah.
I would love to see some military force along the border.
Yeah. I I agree with your comment. Our vets definitely should come first.
Absolutely.
As far as immigrants go, like.
Oh, she's probably talking about our pullout from. That's probably where that comes from.
Oh yeah, true.
From Afghanistan. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Sorry, Rena.
It's okay.
But no, either way, like, yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm also not super educated in this whole political deal, so there's also a lot that I am still learning.
Me too, man. Me too. Like,
these are my current thoughts.
I'm a dum-dum. I don't know.
I don't know jack shit.
I feel like I have a degree of intelligence. I wouldn't consider myself, smart enough to be a rocket scientist, but I believe I can say some pretty smart things and say some smart things. But bottom line, just like, we always talk about on this podcast, is we just want to be better people. not only ourselves to be better people, but to be better people to other people. And that's how we become good people. That's a lot of people. I hope that makes sense.
I think it's good people, though.
Absolutely. So you all, thank you so much for watching another episode with us. Hopefully we have earned your subscription today. So if you could hit that red button to subscribe, hit that damn bell so you don't miss a live feed every Tuesday and Thursday from at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And from our family to yours, good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night.
Bye.